I am Bernie Carr, the Executive Director of the Brandon Area Chamber of Commerce, and I welcome you to our Candidates Informational Forum. Please set your phones to vibrate. Do not let those go off, please. It's going to be a tight night. We have a lot of candidates, a lot of people interested in serving the town, so we want to have these questions out here quickly, good, concise questions. Thank you for coming tonight. Our town moderator, Bill Moore, will be moderating the forum. Thank you. We have 2 contested races this year. We hope the voters will get a feel for the candidates and what they're all about as we prepare to vote over the next couple of weeks. For Select Board for 1-year terms, we have 5 candidates. Raise your hand when I say your name because they can see your names, but just raise them. Ray Marcoux, Ralph Ethier, Dave Atherton, Heather Field Nelson, and Ada Nielsen. Ada had issues with work. She was having trouble getting here to work. We tried to switch it around to work for her, and she was going to try to get here. She may come late, so I don't want you to judge her. She's trying to do the best she can to get here. For Select Board 3-year terms, Doug Bailey, raise your hand, Doug, and Dave Snow. The seating was selected by draw, and we'll advance the starting response down the line with each question. So Ray will start, the next question, Ralph will start, etc. Good luck to the candidates, and we all thank you for being willing to serve the town and give so much of your time, because it's a lot of time and energy serving the town. Each of you will have 1 minute to introduce yourselves and give a quick opening statement. We'll start with you, Ray. Just introduce yourself, any little statement you want to say. Oh, hold it. You got to pass this after you're done talking into it.
Ray Marcoux, lived in Brandon since 1993. I own a house. I've raised a family here. I have a small business. And basically, the reason I'm running is not happy with the amount of spending going on in this town, and no saving, no planning. So,
talk right into the button. Just kind of put it towards your mouth.
The reason I'm running is there's the lack of saving. It's all spend, and no planning ahead. And then all of a sudden, we got to raise everybody's taxes because we didn't think ahead. So hopefully we can change that.
Ralph Ethier. I live on Pearl Street. That's where my business is. I work and live there. I've been in Brandon a long time. I went to the Seminary Hill School in Otter Valley. I've been on the Planning Commission, the Review Board. I was a Select Board member. I'm an alternate on the Review Board now. And the reason why I'm running is this: I want to try to help the Select Board and try to help the town be all we can be. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather Field Nelson. I was born in Brandon, raised in Brandon, and I went to Neshabie and Otter Valley. I moved away for a while to go to college and become a speech therapist. And after traveling a bit, my husband and I decided to get married and come home to have a family and raise our kids in Brandon. So I now own a small business based in Brandon. I have 3 kids that attend local schools, and last spring I was appointed to the Select Board because I felt like I was ready to give back to the town and to offer my time to the Select Board.
Good evening. My name is Doug Bailey. First, I'd like to say thank you to all the people that came out February night to listen to us talk. There's so many other things you probably could be doing, and glad you're here. I have been on the Select Board. I was on the Select Board for 6 years. I have been off the board for the last 2 years. Worked with the Budget Committee, and my business career was working in the banking field. I've been a resident of Brandon for about 40 years, and here in town. I've been on the Chamber of Commerce Board, president of the Chamber of Commerce, on the Otter Valley School Board, and then selectman for 6 years. So that's my opening remarks.
Dave Snow. I've been in Brandon 46 years, born and raised. I own 3 businesses in town, work for the Highway Department full-time for the state of Vermont. I'm on the Prudential Board for the town. I just feel like I have a lot to offer as far as, budgeting, the money side of things, and so on and so forth, being a business owner. I think we do need to plan ahead for things rather than just spend buku bucks at the drop of a hat, and I think I have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Could everybody hear those answers okay? No? Make sure you speak right into the mic, and don't be afraid to speak loud into it, a little bit louder, so you want your voices heard, okay? Okay. The procedures for the forum are similar to town meeting. You can ask a question of the panel, and we're going to start out by asking questions that are generic enough that each of the members can answer that question. This is nothing specific yet to one member. We want to be able to get the opinion of all the people running. You can ask a question, but you have to be quick, concise, and to the point. As I said, we have a large group here. This is not the arena for you to pontificate. That is why God created Front Porch Forum and Facebook. But seriously, we have a large field of candidates. We need to hear what they have to say. You will not be recognized for another question until everyone else has had a chance to ask a question. This helps to prevent it from turning into debate instead of an informational forum. Candidates then will have 1 minute to answer the question. I was going to be the timekeeper, but Carrie has been gracious enough to take over that, and she will give you a subtle indication when you're getting close to your 1 minute time, so you can kind of wrap it up. Okay, let's get started. We did our opening statements, so let's. Hillary, where are you? Hillary's right here. She will bring a mic around to you. So just raise your hand when you want a question. We'll get you the mic. Speak directly into the mic so people can hear the question well, and off we go. Who has a question? Who wants to start us off? You're right back here. And if you would, state your name and just where you're from.
Sure. Lisa
Stand up.
Peluso.
Stand up.
Lisa Peluso. I live up on Prospect Street. I'm interested in what you consider your 1 or 2 key values and how you demonstrate them and how you live your life.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Some of your core values and how you demonstrate your life and as a select board member.
I guess is
Right up.
I guess I'd have to say honesty, and you gotta have some sorts of standards, not just free willy. You gotta be honest with people. You know, I got a small business, and you can't
Get it right up there, Ray.
and you can't
There.
you can't you just gotta be straightforward with everybody.
Okay. Pass it right down through you guys.
I guess I would say that what Ray said. First one, I think I'm honest, I'm trustworthy, I'm dependable. I think I'd work hard. I work hard at my business. I'd work hard for the town. And that's about all I can think of right now.
Hi, thanks for the question, Lisa. I would say one of my first core values is really that I've spent my professional life and now also my, I don't know, what is this, amateur political life, working on really like being thoughtful of others. I'm a speech therapist. I work with people and their families all day, all week. So being really thoughtful and thinking about the big picture for somebody's life as best I can, given that I'm not in their shoes. And then I also think that one thing that really serves me well as a select board member is that I'm able to acknowledge when I've misunderstood something or need to rethink something and to make a change if I need to. Anybody who's heard me ask a bazillion questions at a select board meeting knows that I'm willing to keep learning about things. Thanks.
I think I would say that a term that I would use as far as core values would be that I like to be very transparent. I like for people to be able to feel they can communicate with me at any time about any issue that comes up in town. And that when I deal with issues, I am very strongly trying to always deal in what I call factual information. I'm always frustrated when I see or read information that is being put out that is not factual and clouded with a lot of possible innuendo or accusations and not sticking to the issues, but going into personal items instead of sticking to the issue at hand. So I'm a very fact-based person.
I would say that honesty, integrity, dependability, communications, a lot of my strong points. Everybody in this room wouldn't agree on the same thing, so you have to be able to listen to everybody, come up with the best possible solution for everybody, regardless of what their beliefs are, you know, and basically just do what's right for an overall group. As far as being on the select board, that's what you have to do. You know, there's 50 people here right now, but there's, you know, thousands of people in Vermont, or in Brandon, Vermont, and we have to, you know, it's not just one group, you know what I mean? We all have to listen to everybody. We have to communicate with all walks of life within the town and, you know, take it from there. That's about it.
Can you hand it? This is Dave Atherton that just sat down. Dave, this first question is from Lisa Peluso. She wanted to know what some of your core values are, 2 or 3 of your core values, and how they are going to be incorporated into your work as select board. Oh, okay. And you have 1 minute. We're consolidating time.
Sorry for being late, too. No procrastination. I like to get things done. Seeing things linger just makes people talk, and I guess that's the thing, just getting down to the basics and following through and getting them done.
Okay. That mic can go to Ralph. Ray started. This is our first question. We're going to stagger the answers, the starting person answering right down through as we go. Okay, other questions? Way in the back, Hillary. We'll make it work. And speak right into the microphone, okay? And I'll mention that to everybody here again. It's easy for it to kind of drift down, and then people can't hear you, so you might as well not be here.
I'm Janie Young. I would like to know how you feel Brandon can most strategically address Vermont's housing crisis in a way that benefits Brandon and benefits the people who need housing.
Did everybody hear that? No. Okay. Jane, one more time. Pick it right up there and speak right into it.
All right.
Angle right into your mouth there, just
I
like this.
would like to know how you would most strategically address Vermont's housing crisis in a way that can benefit Brandon, but also address the people who really need housing.
Perfect. Ralph?
Well, I think one of the things we can do is, I believe we're looking at the land ordinance now to provide an easier way to put multi-unit buildings into town with town water and town septic, and have more housing in the areas that have that. So in a lot of the bigger homes, I think we should make it easier for people to permit to put either mother-in-law apartments or secondary apartments, and just make it easier for people to use their home as an income and to help with housing.
Thank you.
I don't know if the select board can fix the problem. It's a statewide problem. We have Act 250 issues that the state has said they're going to rewrite for the last, 5 or 6 years. Until those kind of rules open up for municipalities to do more, I don't know what we can do. The town doesn't own property that can be turned into housing. But I think it's got to start statewide first, and they've got to open up some of the rules that were put in back in the 70s for Act 250 and massive development, and those need to change before we can really do anything. I don't think there's a local solution until the state allows us to have one.
Okay. I'm going to ask everybody no follow-up questions. If the person didn't answer your question, that's an indication of how you may or not want to vote for that person. So they're going to try to answer to the best of their abilities, but we really cannot get it into a debate. Okay, Heather?
Sure. So the housing crisis is a major problem in Vermont statewide, certainly, but especially, maybe not especially, but including Brandon. And understandably, there are state laws. I understand the limitations Dave's referring to. That said, from my work professionally, what I have understood is that there are some limitations that maybe could be a little more lenient on. For example, there were some rules around not sharing bedrooms between certain numbers of kids, and there were some simple rules that maybe would be a little more flexible to make different housing solutions available to different family sizes. But also we have other, where the select board can affect policies, I would be looking forward to doing so, because it's heartbreaking to think of families working so hard and not being able to have a stable housing situation.
I agree with what's been said, that it's with the state laws and what the duties of a select board are, that's really hard to change and have affordable housing. But I am aware that there is a couple people working on affordable housing up on Steinberg Road to try to build some houses. I don't know at what point they're at in that program, but that's the one thing I know is happening in Brandon at this time.
I also agree with what's been said. There is a housing crisis. I mean, nobody can deny that. I think it's very hard for a select board or Brandon as a whole to curb that issue. There's lack of land. The land that's available is very expensive. Taxes keep going up, statewide, townwide, everything wide. I just don't think that there's a dead set solution to put a burden on taxpayers to necessarily figure out a way to put housing in or whatnot like that. A lot of it goes back to affordability, in my opinion. And right now, Brandon as a whole, there's not affordable housing, period. There's no apartment buildings that aren't full. There's waiting lists on the apartment buildings that are in town that are a year out. It's a very tough situation. I don't think there's a 100% set answer to that.
Great. Back down to Ray. You guys are going to get very good at this, so I appreciate your efforts.
I guess I have to agree with what everybody else says. Until the state comes up with something that's beyond the town's ability to change the law, you gotta have safe housing. You just can't put anything up. And with Brandon taxes being so high, and the fact that most of Brandon is a swamp, so it's hard to find a suitable place to build anything. So until that happens, there's really not much that can happen.
Okay, thank you, Ray. I can go down to Dave. Other questions? Back here. One second. She's got a microphone right behind you. Speak right into the microphone.
I'm just
Vicki.
wondering if Dave could give a brief introduction of himself.
They did have the introduction.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, Dave, I'm sorry, okay. Yep.
I wasn't here, Bernie, so I couldn't do it.
You look familiar, though.
Yeah. I'm Dave Atherton. I was the town manager here for 8 years and on the select board 3 years prior to that. I'm currently the town manager in Pittsford. I have 2 children and a wife my wife Heather owns the village spa in town.
Speak right in the microphone,
was there
Dave.
more to
I'm
the
having
question
trouble
or
hearing
just sorry, is that better?
Better.
Was there more to the question or just was it well, I'm concerned about the 13.5% increase in the budget, and it seems like there's a lot of unrest in town right now, and I think that some of these things can be resolved. So, throwing my hat in the ring again to see what we can do to fix it.
Okay. Keep the mic. Now, other questions for the whole board? Tracy Wyman? You stand up, Tracy, too, if you would.
Yeah, my question would be on infrastructure. What would you plan to do, or how would you plan to take care of our town infrastructure?
Well, I think I have a track record of doing quite a bit of it in a small amount of time, but you know, I'm concerned that, like Newton Road, for example, it was flooded 8 months ago and it's still not paved. Doesn't look good. You know, from doing a lot of that flood mitigation, I know what it takes, and you know, be there to guide folks to get through that, and just getting those projects done. I mean, I think the majority of people want to just see their roads paved. They want smooth roads. But just getting the jobs done, I think, you know, Newton Road is really the one that bothers me the most, that it's been, you know, 8 months since the flood and still not paved. So make that process a little faster again, I guess.
Hi. Regarding infrastructure, I think that being very proactive so that rather than fixing bigger problems, we can maintain things at a standard that keeps us from having to do as many big fixes, and planning ahead for things that, planning ahead for grants so that we're sure we have a match ready to go, earmarked, ready to go, and you know, just being careful that while we do want everything done as quickly as possible, that we don't go so quickly that we didn't get a chance for opinions if they're in the case that there's room for that. So yeah, but I think that regarding infrastructure, there are a lot of things that really we shouldn't be surprised by. We know that things are going to wear out with different amounts of use, and planning ahead for that makes a lot of sense for me, knowing that there will be occasional surprises, but there's probably a lot that we can plan for.
I would like to remind everyone first a couple items. One, that we instituted a local options tax probably 8 or 9 years ago, which has been used for an awful lot of our infrastructure projects. Last year, a big chunk of that went to purchasing a dump truck. I would certainly like to see more of that used on a regular basis for paving. In regards to the budget, the budget is up 13.5%. And I would like to again clarify, because I like facts, that the fact that the budget is up that much is because the decision was made by the select board to move or put $300,000 of paving into the budget. Paving has not been in the budget in the last 6 to 8 years, I believe, at least. So adding $300,000 in one chunk into paving increased that budget 7 to 8% on its own.
Infrastructure is, it's a difficult situation. I own a construction company, I own an excavation company. The costs are ridiculous right now on everything, but you have to plan out. You can't you can't just make knee-jerk reactions. You know, Newton Road, I'll agree with Dave. That is, that's a failure, honestly. That should have been a project that was completed in 2.5 to 3 months tops. We have a great highway department right now. They are capable of doing a lot of the infrastructure work that we're hiring it out. We already make the payroll for them, so we should utilize them. We can hire other people to do the smaller jobs while they're doing the big stuff. Utilizing, you know, local companies, that's an option as well. Being a member of the Prudential Board, we're doing sewer line projects down Union Street, and the water lines also need to be replaced. So there's a lot of times where the town will do a project, and then the water department goes in right behind it, and they tear up the asphalt. It's just continual, work together. You know, we're all in the same town.
This comes down to Ray.
The infrastructure, it all should come down to planning. They're relying on that 1% tax way too much. It's like a kid in a cookie jar. Oh, we need it, so we dip into that. And then when something goes wrong, or like Newton Road, we need the money, it's not there. There's no planning ahead. Same, there's a lot of things here in town, yes, although they look nice, we could have saved money and done it, and like all this granite curbing, we could have used concrete, works just as well. They've been using concrete forever. Granted, the granite looks nice, but the cost difference, we could have used, taken that money and gone somewhere else with it. Same with all that nice brickwork. We put the brickwork down, now we got to get a special plow to plow it because we can't run the blade across it because we'll rip the brick up. It's just, yeah, it looks nice, the tourists I'm sure love it, but those of us that live here, we could have used that money elsewhere in a much better way.
Ralph?
Yeah, I think one thing is if we had an inventory or a plan of the roads and estimated life of them, whereas a select board member could see what might be coming up next year, where we knew what we could do this year and just plan, just have some kind of 5 or 10 year plan on roads, on what needed to be done, if culverts needed to be done, where you could actually understand what the cost would be next year, so you could plan on what you could spend this year without having a big surprise and say, oh, we got to have all this money for this road. So more planning.
Hand the mic down to Heather, please. Other questions? Right over here. If you are having trouble hearing, just raise your hand a little bit, and they'll watch for that up here too, and get the mic back up to their mouth.
Jan Coolidge, what is your, gotta remember what I was going to say. What is your idea of the role of a select board member?
What was the last thing you said?
Member.
As a select board member, okay.
I believe the role of a select board member is to make thoughtful decisions for our town while allowing the different departments to do what they're good at, which is their jobs. For example, I want to help and support the police department, but also I'm going to think it's a safe assumption that the police chief knows more about being a police chief than I do. I'll ask good questions, and I'll double check when I feel I need to, of course, but I would like to think that it's offering guidance where we can, but also being able to defer to other people's expertise as needed, and looking at the big picture, because unlike anybody who's running one department and is probably still aware of the others, it's our role to look at all of the departments as a big picture and consider all of that.
Thank you. Good question. Many times that gets blurred. The role of the select board is actually quite clearly defined in Vermont statute. 2 major things. One is to set policies for the town. 2 is to prepare the budget. Other than that, the select board works in conjunction with the town manager and brings forward information from the town. But we do not run the town. The select board does not run the town. The idea of the select board is to do those two items, policy and budget.
I agree partly with what Doug's saying. We have a town manager, we have a deputy town manager. It's their role and responsibility to run the departments within the town. I feel like the select board is to, their job is to kind of keep that in check. You know, we obviously, the select board, you know, and whatnot, and the prudential board and whatever, we decide when we're going to spend money, when we're not going to spend on it. I mean, people, you know, in that position, they vote on it. But we need to keep the managers are hired to manage their departments. We need to keep them in check as a select board member. And we have to think about the community. You know, each member is 20% of the vote, so to speak, but you have to listen and do what's best for the entire community based on that.
If it can pass down to Ray, please.
I believe our job would be to keep the reins on the spending. Granted, there are things that we need, but you gotta stay within your budget, and not just having an open checkbook policy. You know, and I guess these pet projects, they need to come to an end. Just because, well, for instance, solar may work for you, doesn't mean we should go out and spend all the money for solar for the town. I don't see where, I don't know, $1 million over 40 years is that big a savings for 40 years, and none of us will be alive long enough to see it. Plus the replacement of this and that. You gotta just oversee the spending. The spending is out of control, and it's got to stop.
I think a couple of things, what everybody has said, you know, the budget and policies and all that is absolutely true for the select board. But I think one thing a select board member could be is maybe open-minded, where you can have your mind changed by public input. Like we just had something that happened here where public input changed 3 people's votes on the police dog. And now we're keeping the police dog program. So I think that's what a select board member can do.
I think our job is to look out for the best interests of the town as a whole and support the town administration. You know, we're there to assist them. We're not there to micromanage departments or the day-to-days, and hold the finances to, you know, so they're accountable. That's really it. Like, the board shouldn't be playing a daily role in town, you know, governing, and just as long as they're listening to the people, they should be okay.
Okay, so we'll go down to Doug for the next question. And do me a favor, folks, no hooting and hollering, no clapping, nothing like that. Let's let the people speak. People can judge their answers with their own intelligence. We don't need any coaching, okay? And at the end of the night, we can give a nice round of applause to everybody, and que sera, sera. Okay, other questions? Right here, Claire?
My name is Clara Stone. I've been in town almost 5 years, and this town is really important to me, and I've seen a very huge difference in what feels like a lack of representation by the select board. And I would like to know how you all might deal with that. Your special interest is not of interest to me if it doesn't reflect this town. And I've seen a lot of those kinds of things come up, take up entire town meetings, get to a back and forth on Front Porch Forum, and for what cause? If we don't have money to buy things, we shouldn't be buying them, especially if we don't need them.
Claire?
And that's it.
Just ask a question.
How are you going to represent the people in this town and keep your personal interest to yourself? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I like that, Claire. That's a good question. I have very few personal interests in life. I am the old man on this board up here, and I think my record has shown that if anything, I am financially frugal. Some people would maybe call me cheap. I still drive a 2004 pickup because I am not going to go spend $80,000 to get a new one. I don't need to. All of my years on the select board, we had budgets with small increases. What we spent our money with and our time on was improving this town after Hurricane Irene. The overflow culvert, which was a great idea from Ethan Swift, Segment 6, which was worked on for 20 years, making sure it got done, Park Street. We got all of those projects done and used a lot of other people's money. And that's kind of where I come from as a banker and my experience on the select board. I have never asked for anything that I would call a pet project of mine.
As I've been saying all night long, there's many people in this town, and as a select board member and whatnot, you have to do what's best for the majority of the people in town. It doesn't matter if 10 people want this or 100 people want this. You have to do what's right for everybody in town. What makes sense financially, what makes sense for everybody. I wish you'd been around in the 80s when this town was self-sufficient. You never had to leave it for anything. You could work here, you could buy clothes here, you could buy appliances. Brandon has gotten away from that, and it would be great to see that come back. I don't know if it ever could or how it would, but it would be great to see something like that. But that was, you know, when the town was good for everybody.
I've got no pet projects at all, but one thing I will say is, you know, you can't just listen to the people in town. You have to hear what they have to say, because they're the ones that voted to get you where you're at. So, yeah, I mean, you listen to the people and you hear what they have to tell you, and then bring it to the table and discuss it and try to get things done right.
Yeah, I have no hidden agenda or no special interests or anything like that. You know, and my personal interest is potato chips, and I don't think that's gonna bother me on the select board at all. So, thank you.
Just bring them to the meeting. Forgot what I was going to say.
Potato chips will do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking Doritos now. You know, there shouldn't be political moves or special interests on the select board. We're here to represent the town, like I said before, the town as a whole. And that's what our job is, and that's what we should be doing, is listening to the people. Some folks have said special interests. I mean, look what's happened recently with Front Porch Forum and select board meetings being, you know, very well attended, and what is there, 7 people here running for select board. That hasn't happened in a long time. So, you know, the town should be listening to that. Wonder why everyone's here again getting involved, so.
Okay. Much like everybody else, I don't know that I have any pet project. In terms of representation for many people in town, I'm the only, well, there's one other female running, which is awesome, but I'm the only woman running. That's kind of an obvious one. But also, much to my children's chagrin, I'll continue to grocery shop in Brandon, which means that I will stop and have a conversation with anybody who cares to talk to me about whatever issue they have. I believe that, you know, I have my opinions, but I'm only one person in this town, and other people also live in this town, and their opinions are just as valid. So I think that, you know, being able to really be open-minded and make people feel welcome to give me their opinions so that I can kind of forward them along to the select board meetings. You know, my kids might not be thrilled to hear it, but I'll continue to keep doing it because they'll be waiting.
Okay, questions? More? Back corner.
Thank you. I'm Judy Bundy. I've lived here in Brandon for about 20 years and up until a year ago owned a business here. In your opening statement, several of you made a comment about the fact that you were concerned about the lack of planning. So my question very specifically is, what one or two things do you think the town has failed to plan for? And in addition, what things do you think are the most important things to plan for next or first?
Okay, Dave? Excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
That's the
So-
biggest raspberry I've ever heard.
Infrastructure, vehicle replacement are two things that come to my mind that we haven't planned for. As I said, I own 3 businesses. I own several pieces of equipment, and every month money gets put aside in my own personal business to replace the equipment that I have so that when it comes time, the money's there. I don't know if we still have vehicle replacement in the budget. I'm pretty sure we do, but where is it? Where did it go? The infrastructure planning, we should be able to look out 5 to 10 years, like it's been mentioned here, and be able to plan for that. The 1% option money that we bought the new dump truck with, at that time, I think it was like $600 and something thousand. I don't know where we're at with that now, but I don't think we're even at 100 per se. You know, that's money that could be used for infrastructure planning. Invest that money. Short-term CDs, turn money into money. There's a lot of things that we can do within the town to, you know, help that out.
Yeah, infrastructure would be a big one. Nothing's planned for. This roof is one of them. There's no money for the roof, but we put a floor down. Yeah, on the roads, there's no money put in the roads. We're begging taxpayers for money. We shouldn't. There should be money put aside all the time, once a month, once a year, whatever, for money. So when something comes up and we need to fix something, we're not begging the taxpayers. The begging's got to stop. Yeah.
I think one thing we could do is have a list of all our capital equipment and replacement times and, you know, like police cruisers, you know, we have several old ones now, I guess. And now, you know, if the select board had a list and they could plan what was coming up and you knew what it was going to cost, you know, maybe you could focus more on what you needed to replace. Cruisers, bucket loaders, all expensive equipment that we should be planning on when they're going to be replaced.
A plan is great, but the problem is that board members change from year to year, and I've seen it through the years that we started capital planning, and then there were budget issues, and things went to the side. There was money put in the budget for police cruisers for quite a few years. I think it's back this year, but I know it wasn't there last year. Planning with highways, that's pretty easy to do, actually, if you're listening to your highway foreman. One of the things, though, is there are grant opportunities that come up quite often that you don't foresee. And having the match money there to plan for these grants, because we can leverage our money to get more money, those things come up sometimes, out of the blue, and we have to take advantage of them. So, but yeah, having a plan with when things expire. Roads are like 14 years. Equipment it's all over the place, but it's great when we make it, but it needs to be followed from board members to board members.
Yeah, so recently we, and I took Seth Hopkins' position. So I've only been on the select board since he's been town manager, but we have a town spending tracker. So anytime anybody asks for it, but at most select board meetings, we're presented with a table that kind of says what projects are going on and what projects are in the works and which ones are recently finished. And that's been a huge help to just be really clear about where we are with everything. And also there's a Gov pilot, there's like a new program starting up that's going to help the town digitally keep track of our equipment and hours and that sort of a thing, because we'll need that data to be able to plan for upcoming years. But at this point, as best we can plan, we will, and getting that data will be integral in getting better plans.
I am not aware of any new major project going on. The projects that are on the project tracker are available for anyone to look at. There certainly is the project on Union Street sidewalks and sewer lines, et cetera, that is coming up. Most other projects are mostly completed, with the exception of the Newton Road, still maybe getting that paved when it's ready. There is money always in the accounts. It hasn't been mentioned tonight, but we do have a very healthy reserve fund. The select board has a reserve policy of keeping between 15 and 30% of the budget in a reserve fund. In the past years, has stepped in when we had the first flooding on Newton Road to get that open quickly. I am not a selectman, so I'm not sure why it isn't paved yet, but I'm assuming that it's just that it hasn't been repaired enough to be paved at this point, or that pavers were all busy in the fall last year. But that's the status of where things are right now.
Dave, you start that question. Okay, coming back down to Ray. Okay, questions? Shiraj, I think I saw you had your hand up. And Vicki, we'll get back to you next.
My name is Shiraz Daya. I live on West Seminary Street. I'm interested in hearing your opinion about the town getting involved in the solar power project.
Yeah, the solar deal, as far as I'm concerned, it's a bad idea for the town. My understanding is the town already had property, and we leased it out for someone else to put solar panels on. And now we want to lease a piece of property next to it to put our own panels on. I think we passed that up. If we wanted solar panels, we should have put it on our own property and not leased it out to somebody else so we could lease a piece of property next to it to put ours on. That's just bad business.
I haven't made my mind up on the solar yet. I think, well, actually, Jim Emerson stopped talking to me, and I asked him about seeing financials on some of the town-owned solar projects that are already installed and see how they're doing on them. So them are numbers that aren't projections or whatever. Them are real numbers that if they're doing good on them, we should do it. If they're not, we shouldn't do it.
Well, being the person who got the first solar array installed over at the Brandon Industrial Corp., I'm not anti-solar. I don't think that this current project is something that needs to be done in town right now with the infrastructure needs that we have. And just to clarify with the first solar one, we acquired that property through a corporation that actually owed us money on a revolving loan, and we traded that to get income because the solar array is rented out to a company for $10,000 a year. We get to tax the solar panels, and we get 15% of the total output of the array. So there was one year where we received a check for $32,000 in a true-up because it had been producing so much. So it actually was beneficial to the town with that one. But I just don't think it's the time right now for us to bond for $500,000 when we have Union Street open for, there's a grant on that needs to be done. There's 2 bridge scoping grants in town and Newton Road. I think there's other projects we need to do first before we move forward with solar.
I think that I want to follow our energy plan as best we can while being fiscally responsible. And at this point, I'm eager to hear what voters, what the outcome is of the bond vote that's ongoing.
Boy, this has been a hot issue on Front Page Forum and other places. So I'm gonna throw some maybe gasoline on the fire. I don't know. The 6 years that I was on the select board, many times people asked us to try to find other sources of revenue, because any revenue coming in offsets the budget, or it offsets the number that is to be raised by taxes. So any revenue coming in helps. So, and I think that is what the Energy Committee was looking to do on this. Now, on Front Page Forum, people are saying they're trying to shove this down our throat and they're putting this in. I don't see it that way. I see it in that the wording of the bond article says to see if the voters want to approve to go forward with a bond vote. That is always how any bond vote starts. To see, you have to get a positive vote from your taxpayers. Nobody's forcing anyone to do it. Nobody's forcing them to vote yes or vote no. And then on top of that, the number has to be applied for larger than what the project costs. Project estimates are $450,000. That's what the bids are in now. I know my time's going to be up, but let me finish, please. That once there's a positive vote, then the Energy Committee can go out and seek grants. And I know that there are many grants that could be available to lower the number dramatically. And that would generate revenue, which would then offset it. People say, well, the power's not coming to Brandon. Well, once the power goes into Green Mountain, it goes wherever it goes. But the town will get a credit towards the energy, and it can create revenue. And I don't know if I'm even voting for it, because I haven't seen all the figures yet.
Okay,
but
Doug.
what I'm telling people is to look at it yourself and make your own mind up.
Cheater.
Very much so. So I'm not sure I'm a fan of the solar. I'm not sure I'm opposed to it. I know it's a huge expense. One of the concerns or questions that I had was, instead of doing a solar array for that kind of money, if we're trying to basically end a power bill for these different buildings in Brandon, why don't we put solar panels on each building? Like some people are doing, on their houses. It might be a cheaper, alternative to it. But we can get a lot of power through our water system as well with hydro generators. There's a town in Oregon, the entire town pays nothing for electricity, including the residents. That is something that a couple of us on the water board are looking into to try to seek that out, but you need to be a little bit more open-minded. It's not just spending $500,000. I mean, we're looking at doing this and basically be no cost to the people. But until we know the facts, we haven't brought it out. You are fortunate enough to kind of hear it firsthand, but there's alternatives other than solar panels, if we can all just be a little open-minded.
Vicki, you still have a question?
My name is Vicki DeSorda. I live on Union Street. My family has owned the property for over 50 years. And trying like hell to hang on to it. My question is, what new, practical, unique, or experienced perspective do you bring to the board that will help the growing population of individuals on fixed and low incomes that are becoming increasingly discontent with town management?
Okay. Can you repeat it one more time? Speak it into the microphone a little bit better. They didn't hear it up here.
I would like to know what new, practical, unique, or experienced perspective you bring to the board that will help serve the low income and fixed income residents in this town. And this population is growing.
I guess one thing you could do is like everybody, the budget. We have to keep the budget, with everybody's income level in mind and what services we provide for everybody. We have our downtown is beautiful. We have a rec department that offers all kinds of programs. We have a police department that's excellent, but you know what I mean? Can we keep? We're talking about 24-hour police coverage. Can people afford that at all income levels in Brandon? It's something that's going to have to be really thought about and really considered.
Watching the budget is certainly a start. They're working with entities like NeighborWorks or I can't think of the other one now, that do energy stuff for folks that can't afford it. I know we started that early on with the Energy Committee to do Button Up Brandon. That's something that's going to help folks save energy costs and make their houses more comfortable. But I think recognizing that we have to watch how much we're spending, and the wish list is, it's gotten out of control. So keeping it, down to, like Doug said earlier, we didn't have big increases for like the last 10 years. I mean, I remember when we had the budget fails, and we learned a lot through that, I think. And to keep that down is what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that managing the budget responsibly is going to probably be first and foremost, and making sure that we also consider, making sure that we meet the needs of as many town residents as we can, which has included, ADA compliance and other factors. Part of the Segment 6 project has helped with that. It's not perfect, far from, but yeah, managing that budget is going to be top of the list.
It always seems to come back to the money question. Budget's vital, revenue's vital, how we're spending it, separating what are wants from needs, keeping our infrastructure sound, our roads good. 8 or 9 years ago, we had a serious problem with roads deteriorating, and we've spent a lot of time and effort to bring them back up to standards all throughout town, and we can't kind of let that slide by. And it comes to money, but it comes down to how we want our town to be. And unfortunately, it does take funds to keep all this stuff in good shape.
I agree with, curbing the spending and whatnot, keeping the budget at bay. But, we have an economic development committee that maybe should be looking at this from a different angle. And maybe we should try to get some industry in here that actually pays more than low-income wages. And then we won't have low-income issues. Not saying that's the 100% answer, but it is something that we could maybe consider. And, let's report back on that board and say, is there a business out there that might want to come here and provide, more than low-income wages for the people that live here?
Down to Ray and Ralph. Haven't answered yet, I believe. Oh no, Ralph, he did, right? Well, Ray, you're the last one on this question.
Yeah, budget is a big thing, because at the rate we're going, most people here who've lived here most of their lives are going to get taxed out of their homes. Pretty soon it'll be all just, we'll have just out-of-staters sitting here. We'll be all gone. We won't be able to afford to live here anymore. And, as far as the low-income people, yeah, there's got to be something in place to help them out while still not raising taxes. The programs to help them better heat their homes, maybe help them get on their feet a little better, job searches, do whatever to help them move along and become more productive citizens and get on their feet and just live a better life.
Okay, next question. Janet? No, Janet, come on, right behind you. No, can't hear you. Oh, Hillary forgot to turn it on. We can't even blame it on somebody else this time.
Hi, Janet Monluck. I live on Park Street Extension. And I'm looking at the table. I see some of you are newcomers to town politics. I see 1 incumbent select board member, 3 former select board members, a former town manager. And I'm wondering what your motivation for running right now is. I heard opening remarks, and I want to know a little bit more besides just reining in spending, because while there are some decisions you're going to be able to make, a lot of it is arbitrary. There's going to be infrastructure, equipment, services, contracts that need to be honored. It's kind of a thankless job. Why do you want to do it?
Okay, Dave.
I know you don't want to hear the money thing, but 13.4% or whatever it was unnerving to me, and that Newton Road. Those are the 2 things that really got me kind of fired up from, wanting to be part of this again. I didn't really want to, but going through what it takes to run the town, and I learned a lot from when I started on the select board, and the failed budget years that was a big learning experience, and knowing what people want. But the big thing, those are the 2 things that drove me back here, was the budget increase and Newton Road.
So I'm raising 3 kids in town right now, and I want our town to be a place where they would like to come back to at the very least, even if they don't choose to live here. And I, right now, am, I believe, the youngest person running, and I have a perspective because I'm midway through my career. I tried to say I was farther along, and I was told no. But I have a perspective that I won't have toward the end of my career. I have pressures on my life and my reality that are different than what I had 10 years ago and what I will have 10 years from now. And I think it's important also to have our kids see people who look, well, quite frankly, for kids to see women on the board, quite frankly. That's not the only reason I'm running, but I do think that that's an obvious, elephant in the room.
Thank you for the question, Janet. I have a very different answer. I have decided that I wanted to come back onto the board when I said that I was done a couple years ago after 6 years. But I still go to most of the board meetings, probably 3/4 of them. And for the first time in my life, I have felt that the current board has not communicated well with each other and with the public. They're all great people. I like every one of them. But when someone asks a question, it either gets answered partly or half-truths, or they get blank stares. And I think that either an unanswered question or a poorly answered question is what drives people to have a lack of faith and confidence in the board. And I think that's borne out by what I read in Front Page Forum every day at this point. So I really feel that I would like to be back with communications, my skills.
So I am new to the political side, to be honest with you. I am, like I said, on the Prudential Board. I did interview for the town manager position. I was brought up to not complain about something unless you're willing to try to change it. I've gotten to the point in my life where, I like Brandon. I like living here. I've lived here for 46 years. I want to continue to live here. To be quite honest, I think there's a lot of things that should have been done, could have been done a little bit different. And I just feel like, now is the time to step in. I have a younger point of view, let's say. and a different perspective on a lot of things, you know, seeking out alternative things. Everybody kind of gets in this one-track mind, and sometimes you got to think about it, you know, in a different perspective and outside the box, and, you know, hopefully everything can work out from that point, just with a different vantage point.
Down to Ray.
I have never run for any public office, but the time has come to try to change things, so other people, I can hear what other people think, and bring their ideas to the board and try to change things, and put an end to this open checkbook policy, and just make things better. Just things have gone downhill in the last couple of years, and so hopefully we can change that.
The reason why I'm running again is I like to be involved in making decisions, you know, whether they're popular with everybody, or I hope they're popular with the majority of the people, because that's why that I'm supposed to represent is the majority of the people in Brandon. So I enjoy making decisions.
Okay, down to Heather, please. Next question. Right over here.
Yeah, I'm Jim Emerson, and just wonder how you would make decisions like the police cruisers when information is presented that suggests that, for example, electric vehicles are cheaper to buy and to operate. How would you decide whether that's a good idea to try out the electric police cruisers for the town of Brandon?
Regarding the police cruisers specifically, my first questions would be for the police chief about what is going to meet the town's needs for their professional duties. And then also, next up would, I guess concurrently, would be looking at the facts of the cost and considering our town plan and our energy commitments moving forward for lowering carbon emissions. And then I think that, I'm blanking on my third one.
And you're the youngest on the board.
And I'm the youngest, bad, and I just said it. Carrie.
The EV police cruiser issue, again, another hot item. And I do not own an electric car. I have ridden in 2 electric cars, and I was very impressed by them. I, again, am torn with the amount of misinformation that I see always out there about these things. One is that, an electric car can't even go on a class 2 road. Well, I live on a class 3 road, and 2 of my friends come to my house regularly in their electric cars and have never gotten stuck. Electric cars catch on fire all the time. I'm glad the fire down at Max last week, or this week, was not an electric car. I don't really know for sure. I would like to look at more information or data. My own personal feeling at this moment is that we need to buy 2 cars. We need to get rid of 4 cars. I would love to see us buy 1 EV and 1 gas car, and then track them over the next 3 years to see how that goes.
So the state of Vermont has electric vehicles all over the place. We have electric equipment and so on and so forth. The general consensus of the people that drive those electric vehicles, around the state and whatnot, is that they get 4 to 6 hours of use out of it before they got to charge them. State police have a Harley Davidson that is an electric Harley Davidson. They trailer that to do 2 hours of patrolling on an interstate, and then they have to trailer it back. I don't feel for the public safety that an electric vehicle is the way to go. Maybe our cruisers would last a little longer, you know, as petroleum-based cruisers, if they didn't sit there and idle on a night like tonight because it's snowing for 6 hours in the parking lot of the police station. But, you know, you can maintain a gas-powered vehicle for a long time, as some of you probably know, for a little amount of money. And it's my understanding that the cruisers aren't in as much disarray as what it's being portrayed. So I think facts, you know, of the cruisers, talk to people that have them, and get facts to see how they really are.
Pass it down to Ray, please.
I don't own an electric vehicle, nor would I ever. And for the select board to tell the Brandon Police Department that they have to get 2 electric vehicles, I think is crazy. We give them a budget, they should be able to get whatever they feel they need, not what the select board or the town feels they should get because we want to go green. It shouldn't be up to us. It's their job. Let them decide what they need, the best suit what they're doing.
One of the issues I have with the electric cruisers is the police chief has said that there's not an electric car that's certified to be a police car. And what he explained that to be is when they build a police cruiser, they reinforce the welds and they do some other stuff to make them more sturdy. And he says there's not an electric vehicle that's certified under them standards. So that's one of the issues I have.
I agree with Ralph. I talked to Chief a couple of years ago when this first came up with a board member wanting to have us look at an option for an electric vehicle. And at the time, there weren't cruisers, interceptors that were built to do it. I got to agree with Dave here too that the 4 cruisers that need to be replaced might want to be looked at again because I don't think they're as bad as we're hearing, and I'm hearing that from people that work on them. And so I don't support it right now. I think if we had 2 EVs, we'd have to boost up the service in the police station, which costs money, if I'm correct. To charge them. So there was more cost with it other than just buying the cars.
Okay, that goes down to Doug now. He'll have the next question. Start the next question. Who has the question? Neil? I take Neil, 1 second. I'm sorry, Faith. You were next. Hold on 1 second. She'll get the mic right to you. Speak right into it.
Faith Daya, I live on West Seminary Street. I'd like to ask the candidates if they support the $92,000 appropriations to the library, and if the library appropriation fails, what impact would the loss of funding have on the community?
Okay. Doug, did you get that? Do they support the $92,000 appropriation request? And if it fails, what would be the what? The impact to the community.
First, I would like to say I highly support the $92,000 for the library. I was on the board, I think it was my very first year on the board, so it would have been 8 years ago, when the decision was made by the then board to separate the library. It used to be included in the town's budget, and they put it on its own separate budget as that building is owned separately from the library as rental income, etc. In all of the time since then, their original decision was $92,000 8 years ago. They have not increased that appropriation request, and it is used totally to staff and the expenses of the library. And they raise money by also asking for appropriations from other towns that come in and use our library. I think it's a resource we have to have. If it went down, what would happen? They wouldn't have any money. And that would be a real problem and could lead to a library closing or reducing hours or something. And I know I wouldn't want to see that.
the library is an important thing, I think, too, that with the internet and stuff today, you know, I don't know as a lot of people go to the library like they used to. I'm not saying that they don't, but I think that number is drastically, you know, declining as time goes on. The $92,000, I would certainly like to see that lowered. You know, maybe we charge a fee to be part of the library or so on and so forth. Other towns are doing it. You know, am I opposed to it 100%? No, I'm not opposed to it. Am I pro 100%? No, I'm undecided at the moment, to be honest with you.
I guess I'm a little opposed to it. There's enough money out there. I'm begging for taxpayer money for reconstruction of the library. That's another deal where they should have had money, been putting it away all this time. It's an old building. Someone should have known that at some point you're going to have to fix it. And then to expect the taxpayers to flip the bill, I don't think it's right.
Yeah, I'm for the money for the library. I think the library is a very important part of the community, and you know, library, senior center, all them organizations, I'm for all of them.
Doug, the appropriation actually started at $89,000 that many years ago. I remember that. They boosted it up a little bit, but yeah, I think it's important, and it's always received lots of votes through the years. I think the town supports the library. I would hate to see what happens if it doesn't pass, but it always has, and I know that's not for the construction. That's their annual appropriation that they ask for every year. So, and it's been on there whenever we did it in 2015 or 14 or something.
I wholeheartedly support the library, and it is amazing to see the way that the library has transformed and really changed with the times. And like, my family goes there just as often to like borrow a robot and attend a club as it does to borrow a book. And it also offers a safe place for lots of people who need a safe place during the week, and conversation sometimes, even for people who just need a conversation. I would hate to find out what would happen if that didn't pass. Not to mention a whole generation of people would not have library bread, so, which is up there with the dump donuts. But yeah.
Mr. Moderator, may I have one more second? Time?
It's very unusual, but I'll grant this one time for you.
I just wanted to clarify the point that none of that $92,000 has anything to do with their renovation. Their renovation has all been self-funded.
Okay, any other questions? We'll take a couple more for the board in this format. Sharon, hold on one second till you get your mic.
Thank you. I'm very excited to see so many people who've invested so many years in this community to be running for select board. It's very, very exciting to have this many options. In the past year, the select board has spent a lot of money, a lot. 1.16 million ARPA money, maybe over 2 years, but it's been a lot in the last year. Almost 400,000 in 1% money, including $255,000 on a highway truck that wasn't budgeted for, creating a deputy town manager position, spending on a $500,000 planning for a solar array, $500,000 planning project, and spending the $3 million budget. And our town office is only open 80% of the time. What would you do to focus on town records, highway, police, and control the spending to keep the taxes down?
Wow. Okay, who's, Dave, you're first. You got a lot there.
Think about this?
Didn't know you had a term paper.
Well, that's a big question, Sharon. You know, it all comes back to, you know, the budgets and projections and things of that nature. You know, I feel like the town clerk or the town office should be open 5 days a week. That's what people get paid for there. You know, I understand it's a tough job and there's a lot going on, but there's enough people where I think that can happen. You know, I've been in Brandon, like I said, 46 years. We've never had a deputy town manager. I don't know if it's a necessity. I'm not sure the workload supports it. Don't know that our taxes support the extra money. You know, and I know there's talk around, and I may be talking out my backside, but you know, I don't think that, you know, that deputy town manager or whatnot is doing it for the same, you know, monetary compensation as the rec department. But it's a projection, a lot of it is, and you have to curb the spending, and you can't do it foolishly. I mean, there's a lot to that question. But.
Okay. Down to Ray, please.
Yeah, it all comes down to the spending. We just close the checkbook. You gotta slow down. And like Dave said, this deputy town, it's nuts. I guess if one man can't do it, then maybe we should replace them both and find one that can, because I think, I don't know, it doesn't seem like two people doing the same job are we getting our money out of it? Yeah, we gotta put a stop to it, and that may be a place to stop it there. And who knows, one salary could pay for half a new police cruiser or half a road project. So yeah, we need to get rid of it.
I think we got to look at everything, if you know what I mean, because especially if this budget fails, then everything's going to be on the table. You know what I mean? What's going to be cut? Are we just going to cut paving and say we'll pass the budget with no paving? That's not the way we can do that. We're going to have to look at everything if it fails, and we should anyway. We should be as frugal as we can, because like I said before, we got all kinds of income levels in Brandon that we need to make it for everybody.
So the town office is a tough one because the town clerk is elected and can hold their own hours, as they're not governed by the select board. They're voted on by the town. The select board has no authority over an elected town clerk. As far as administration, I never had an assistant or a deputy town manager, and I don't, and where I am now, so I don't quite understand it, but I'm not there to make that decision. So, and as far as like police and highway, you know, unfortunately, the cost of goods, it keeps going up. With, you know, culverts and pipe have gone through the roof, and that's where grants come in handy. We can get grants through the state and feds to cover a lot of these projects that we've done successfully through the years. Police is an interesting one. You know, I was here in a town that had, up to 9 officers at one time, and we have a kind of a part-time office down in Pittsford, and they both have their pros and cons. So, but, you know, for years people thought we had 24-hour service, and we didn't, and nobody questioned it. So, that's it, I guess.
It was certainly a unique situation that I found myself in when I joined the select board, and we had a bunch of ARPA money, and I think we were responsible in spending it, albeit everybody knows if we could have done the roof before the floor, that would have been a better situation, but we got it, we're getting it done. And just being efficient with what we have and making sure that we take good, keep track of things, take good data so that we aren't surprised by things that we don't need to be surprised by. And my understanding about the town manager and deputy town manager was that when they divided that job into 2, they also divided the salary appropriately. So it's not, it's two different positions than just having one town manager.
Yes, Sharon, there's been a lot of money spent. ARPA was a lot of money, a couple $100,000 going into this building right here. I guess the first thing I would like to try to say is regarding the town manager and the town manager's salary, I personally do not see anything wrong with it. I look at it as a realignment of duties, that Mr. Moore is still doing recreation and economic development, and he is a assistant town manager. I mean, if we go into Dunkin' Donuts, there's an assistant manager in there, I assume. There's somebody that's always there when a manager is not there. The salary structure for the two people add up to less than what Mr. Atherton was making when he left. His last salary was $100,000, and it's less than that now. So it all depends how people want to look at things. So that's my take.
Okay, we've been, Dave, you answered first, right? Yeah. Okay, we've been through the board multiple times. Good job with your quick questions. I appreciate that. Good job, you guys, with not going over on those. I'm going to take a little bit of a switch here now. Those questions all were answered by all the board. And sometimes you might have a question for a particular candidate, and I'm going to open it up to the floor for probably 20 minutes or 25 minutes for anybody who wants to have some more directed questions. So is anybody, and if there's not, we'll leave it open to the full board, but does anybody have any directed questions they want to ask while we're at it?
Thank you. This question's for Dave Atherton. This week the question came up about a conflict of interest regarding the solar bond that was coming up, and some folks that had spoken in favor of it. And the town's position of conflict of interest was posted on Front Porch Forum. In reading that, the following question was cemented in my mind, and I put it to you. Many of the decisions the select board make are private regarding personnel, budgets, confidential negotiations, contracts. So based on that and the ordinance, is it not a conflict of interest for you as town manager of our neighboring town, Pittsford, to be on the Brandon Select Board? I've always held that one cannot serve two masters. So if you could answer that, please.
Actually, no. And there's a statute that a town manager can be a town manager in two adjoining towns. So to me being a town manager in an adjoining town and select board here, there's no conflict. I mean, if there was a grant that we were both going for, I would gladly recuse myself from the select board decision here. I called the Secretary of State's office and asked them this. If I was in this town and running, as you know, there's incompatible positions, then sure, but I work for another town. I don't work for the town of Brandon anymore.
Okay, other questions? Specific questions? Well, that was, pardon? Okay, I'll give you a follow-up then on it, yeah? Speak right into the mic too, Brent, please.
So Dave, is it your intention to be the town manager of both Brandon and Pittsford?
No.
Is that your ambition?
No.
Okay. Then I guess we're going to continue to speak for a while for the whole board. Other questions for the generic board here, every one of them. Anybody else have any more questions like that? Okay. So let's do final statements. You're going to have, we're ahead of time here, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes to have your closing statements, okay? We'll start with Ray.
Well, the bottom line is we got to curb spending here in town. Like I said, the deputy manager, town manager, that's got to go. We gotta close the checkbook. We gotta start saving money. We gotta start putting money aside and not just pulling it out of that 1% fund, because that's nuts. Like I said, they're pulling money out of there as fast or faster than it's going in. So we need to put some money away. We can still use a little bit, but you got to have a percentage in there for an emergency, like this roof here. Rather than wait for it to leak all over the floor and ruin the building, let's have the money there so we can replace that.
I hope, I hope you listened to everything I've said tonight and, consider me as a good member. I'd like to be on the select board again. I would try as hard as I can, I think I offer a lot as far as management skills. I've run my business in town. I've owned a lot of property in town. I've rehabbed. I like Brandon's my town. I'm going to be here. I'll probably be buried here. So I would like to be on the board again. Hope you consider me. Thank you.
It breaks my heart to see where we started when I first got involved in 2012 and what we pulled ourselves out of in the town, and when my tenure here as town manager and the select board we had through most of it, we accomplished a lot. And now seeing what's going on in the last 11 months, it's frustrating for me. What changed? I mean, we made a lot of great decisions through the years and got a lot done with a lot of other people's money. I want to see us get back to that. I want to see us get back to, running the town first and taking care of that before we veer off on other special interests. That's really the thing. I just think we need to get back to the basics and run the town and worry about that.
I really hope that I get another chance to be on the select board for the next year. I've learned so much. It's a huge learning curve. And I love Brandon. I was born here, which was not my choice, but I moved back here knowing what I was getting myself into and wanting to. And I love being able to be a decision maker for our town, and I want this to be a town that our kids are proud to say they grew up in and that they want to stay in, and that is a draw for younger people for many reasons. I'm willing to listen to so many people's input and to have my mind changed when it needs to be changed. It just is something that I have really enjoyed, and I think that even though I don't agree with everybody in this town has an important voice that really should be heard as much as people would care to have it heard. And I would really be happy to work with anybody who gets the opportunity to be on the select board next year. It was a fantastic, has been a good experience, and has been something that I think I'm good at coming up with compromises and being able to see other people's points of view in a way that helps us build consensus rather than continuing to polarize points of view.
Again, thank you all for coming, and I would just like to rephrase that I enjoyed the 6 years that I was on the board in the past. I felt that I got an awfully lot done in the post-Irene timeframe, things that have set Brandon up to go far. I think we are actually in a good financial place now because we have matching funds identified for all jobs that are pending, and we have a healthy reserve, and it's time to move forward. And lastly, I would like to thank all of the people up on this table for them to put in and want to put in their time to be a select person. Takes a lot of time, a lot more than people realize. And Heather and Ralph have both done short-term stints on the board, and they've both been very good. And Dave was a selectman before, so we have a lot of experience, and I'm sure that Dave beside me is also a very good candidate. It's really good to see good candidates come out and be ready to work for the town.
Thank you, Doug. No, I mean, everybody up here, you know, we're all trying to do the same thing, which is what's best for the community. You know, I don't think anybody up here has an agenda. You know, that topic was brought up earlier tonight. You know, but we're all, you know, we're not able to change, or we shouldn't be trying to change everything based on what we think. We need to make our decision based on what the community thinks, what the community needs, what the community wants as a whole, not just as a partial. I agree a lot with what, you know, everybody said, and, you know, hopefully I, you know, am chosen, to be honest with you, because I have a lot to offer. Some of the answers probably aren't exactly what everybody's wanted to hear, but they're the truth. There's no BS in them, and, you know, that's basically it.
Well, I'm very proud of all of you because, as we all know, it's not easy being a public speaker. I'm sure many of you have never done something like this before, so nice job for all of you. Town meeting will be here on Monday, March 4th, and you can do your voting early by mail or dropping it at the town office, or get out and vote at the American Legion on Tuesday, March 5th from 9 to 7 p.m. I want to thank all of you for your questions. Good, concise, nice job, everybody. And it's vital to have an informed electorate and candidates who are aware of the voters' concerns and issues participating in this important part of our democracy. We're very lucky in the state of Vermont. Town meeting is important, so try to get here for that also. I want to thank Bill and the town for hosting us. Poor Bill is sick, so I felt bad for Bill. And thanks to all of you for coming out tonight, and especially many, many thanks to our candidates for throwing their hats in the ring. Good luck to you all. Good night.